create a new parameter for it. So now I've placed my window on my wall. I'm going to open up this family by clicking on Edit Family, and we're going to assign a parameter to that pane of glass. So you'll notice if I click on my pane of glass here, under the Properties dialog box, under Materials and Finishes, under Material, we have the word by category, and if I click on that, that will allow me to actually assign a material to that pane of glass within the family environment. But what we want to do is we want to assign a parameter to that material so that when we're in our project environment, when I click on my window, I want to be able to change that material from the edit type properties dialog box. So if I go back to my family editor mode, and I click on my pane of glass again, next to those three little dots we clicked on, there's a little grey rectangle called Associate Family Parameter. If I click on that, that'll bring up a dialog box called Associate Family Parameter. If I create a new parameter, well, currently it's showing us the parameters we have available in our family here. We have one called Frame Material. Our frame is probably going to be of an aluminium or a steel material. So if we gave our glass material, if we gave our pane of glass the frame material parameter, that means that our glass is going to be metal as well and not glass. So we want to create a new parameter. So we want to click on the new parameter button, and we just want to call it glass. And note that there's a difference between a type parameter and an instance parameter. I'll go through those two in a moment. But if I click on OK, I've now created a new parameter, a new associate family parameter, and we're basically going to use the glass to assign this family parameter to. So if I click on OK, so now you'll notice that when I click on that pane of glass, the material should be grayed out, meaning that that material is now controlled via a associative parameter. So now if I click on Load into Project, to load this family back into my project, then any changes I make in my family, I'm always going to need to load them back into my project. Now if I click on Override the existing version, now when I click on my window and I click on Edit Type, I should see a Materials and Finishes tab here. Now if I click on my three little dots here, I should be able to scroll through my material browser, and these are all the materials that are already in my Revit project here, and just find one called glass and hit OK, press OK. Now you should notice that we now have a translucent material for our glass here. Now you'll notice if we go back to that family, and if I click on my window frame here, you'll notice that, okay, we've already got a material associated with this frame. And if I click on my family type dialog box, we know that it's family, or we know that it's associated to the frame material. So if I have a frame material associated with my window frame here and all my extrusions and reveals. However, when I view my window in my project file, if I click on my Edit Type Family dialog box, our window frame material isn't appearing under my Materials and Finishes tab as a parameter. And you'll notice that if you look at the Properties dialog box, we actually have the Frame and Materials and Finishes tab and Frame Material appearing in our Properties dialog box and not our Type Properties dialog box. So the reason for that is that if I go back to my my window family, if I click on the Family Types dialog box under the Properties tab, if I click on the parameter that I just created, click on the word glass, and then click on the little pencil tool down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen called Edit Parameter. See how we created a new parameter, called it glass, and we've made it a type and not an instance. If I look at my frame material that's already been created for us, and I click on Edit Parameter, you'll notice that that isn't a type parameter, it's an instance parameter. So the difference between those two things is basically if I now want to control the material of my glass, if I've used this window 20 times throughout my project, and I want to change the material of the glass, I click on Edit Type, and I can simply change the material within my Type Properties dialog box. So that's assuming that we want to make a global change and not a local change. However, if we have an instance parameter, it will only let me make a local change. So for example, if I were to change my frame material here, whilst it's still in an instance parameter environment, if I clicked on my three little dots here, and this, for example, let's just make it blue paint. If I clicked OK, you'll notice that now only the materials change for that window. So even though we've used that same window over here, only because it's an instance and not a type parameter, the material's only updated on the left here, but not on the right. So you only use instance parameters if you have a parameter which you're going to be wanting to make local changes to. If you think you have a parameter where you're going to want to make a global change, where you're going to want to say, I've used my window 500 times in this project, I want to make sure that every time I make a change, it occurs to each one of those windows, then you would make it a type base. If you want to make a change that's only local and only occurs to that specific window, you would make it a type, an instance. But for example, for things like materials, generally, you're always going to want those to be typed, generally. So what I can do is I can go back to my family environment, click on my family type properties dialog box, click on my frame material, click on edit parameter, and I'm going to change it from instance to type and hit OK. And then I'm going to load it back into my project, click on override existing. Now you'll notice that when I click on my window, my materials and finishes tab's gone from my properties dialog box. And if I click on edit type, my frame material now appears under my materials and finishes tab, meaning that I can associate it, I can assign a material now based on my type. And to actually assign a material to that parameter now in our project environment, I could then click on the three little dots here, filter through the material browser, and these are showing you the materials that we already have created in the project for us, and then simply find the material you're after, select it, hit OK. I'm going to choose an aluminium material for my frame here, probably metal, metal, aluminium, hit OK. Now notice that in our project environment we can also do the same thing here, and again click on that little grey rectangle and associate my parameter here with a global parameter, which means that I could have a global parameter in this project that controls the material of my glass in each one of these windows. So it's like you're associating, we've created a family, we've created a parameter, we've associated a parameter with some geometry in that family, then we bring it into our project environment, then I could then associate that associated parameter with another associated parameter in my project environment, so you can keep sort of creating this layering of data. But we won't do that for now. For now I just wanted to talk about the two, the different types of parameters, how and why we might use them. So now, and I'll just very quickly show you how to locate a door as well. If I go up to my architecture ribbon, click on my door tool, or DR on the keyboard. Again, if I go back to my Frank Gehry sort of reference imagery that we have here, we know we have a double pane glass door here. If I go back to my Revit environment, click on my drop down menu here, you'll note that we don't actually have any double glass frame doors yet in our project. So I want to load one in. So if I click on load family, I'm going to navigate to my doors folder from my Australia folder, click on doors. You can see here we have one called double glass one. In the right hand corner of my screen showing me a preview thumbnail. Again, I clicked on the door tool, I went load family because we didn't have a door that we wanted to use, so I click load family up here. Again, navigate to the doors folder under the, it should bring you to the Australia tab, the Australia folder, click on the doors folder, and then find double glass one and click OK, open. And note that because we're loading in a door family, I'll only be able to load in a family of the type of a door family. So I can't load in a window here, it'll return me an error. And again, I simply click on a portion of my wall in 3D view or elevation or floor plan, and Revit will generate a new door for me. And again, if you want to change the width or the height, we do the same thing as before, edit type, duplicate, and change the width and the height from within the type properties dialog box. And again, note that when we're dealing with walls and doors, windows and doors, sorry, a door and a window need to be hosted in a wall. So if you haven't modeled the walls yet, you won't be able to locate your door. It won't cut you an opening. And notice how in placing our door and our window, if I go back to my level 1 floor plan, you'll note that we've now got an opening in our door. We can see a door in floor plan. So our opening's being cut for us. You'll note that you won't be able to see the opening of our window here because it looks like it's actually a little higher than our cut plane. Because by default, under our view range here, our cut plane is 1200 millimeters above level 1. And if I went back to my elevation here, if I measured to the underside of my window here, we've got 1540. So we know our plan's cutting through 1200, which is why we're not showing up our cut plane here. So if I wanted to view that window in floor plan, if I went back to level 01, and I went to view range under my properties window, click on edit, and I changed my 1200 to 1750 for example, and hit OK. Now you can see my windows here as well. We're cutting through, we've changed the cut plane. So anyone having any major difficulties with the doors or windows?
Does that look right?